What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we've got this, the Leica M11. We're out and about in London. We're going to go see what it can do. We're going to see what photos we can take. Let's go talk about it. So let's start off by talking about image quality. Now we've got a 60 megapixel back illuminated sensor in here, and it really does deliver awesome results. The colors look absolutely amazing, and there's a lot of detail in here as well. Now that resolution can be dropped to 36 megapixels or even 18 megapixels to keep file sizes down. And Leica told us that dropping the resolution also gives you a bump in dynamic range up to 15 stops, which is great. It's also pretty flexible with how you set up the resolution between RAW and JPEG. So for example, you could shoot 60 megapixel RAWs and 18 megapixel JPEGs. This is also a dual gain sensor with a base ISO of 64. Now we didn't get a huge amount of low light opportunities, but when we did bump that ISO up to 6400 or even a little bit higher, there were absolutely no issues with noise. It can shoot up to 4.5 frames a second in the high speed shooting mode with a buffer that lasts around about 3 seconds, which while not very long, is probably enough to get the burst that you're trying to get. The M11 is also rocking an electronic shutter, which lets you shoot up to 1/16,000th of a second. Now that's great if it's super bright, you want to use a nice fast aperture and you don't have anything like an ND filter. And there's still a little bit of a rolling shutter issue, but otherwise it's a really useful thing to have in addition to the mechanical shutter. Now talking about image quality, something I'm really noticing with this camera straight away through the viewfinder or on the back of the camera as well. The colors are amazing. I mean, they really, really pop. The contrast is beautiful. Everything about it is really, really lovely, which on the back of the camera is very, very exciting because I know when I get home, I pop these on the computer, I know that's going to look really, really good. And that's something you get from a combination, of course, of the camera, but also these lenses are just fantastic. And that is a real treat to be able to shoot like that because you can really see as you're shooting just how nice these images are going to come out. Now, one thing which I really love with this camera is the 64 gigabytes of internal memory. That is a really awesome feature, which can either be enough for a shoot, or it works great as a safety feature for either forgetting your card or backing up important photos. So one of the things I'm really noticing with this camera is it really forces you to slow yourself down while you're taking photos. So obviously manual focus really helps with that, but just the whole experience of taking photos feels different using this. Everything from changing the ISO, changing the shutter speed, and of course focusing just forces you to slow down enough that it really feels like bringing back the kind of art of photography, right? That sounds a little bit kind of pretentious, but I really, really like it. I'm really enjoying slowing myself down while I'm focusing my shots. It's forcing me to change up my composition, really think about my shots because, you know, I only want to have to take one. Whereas when you're talking about autofocus, you're talking about the speed of shots that you sometimes think about nowadays. You can shoot off 30 shots without really thinking much about it. What I like about this is it feels more like shooting back in those film days because you're slowing yourself down. Now let's talk a little bit about the actual feel of this camera. Well, first of all, if you've shot with an M10, you're going to be very, very comfortable here. It's definitely designed to feel similar, but there are actually some pretty major differences here as well. The big one being, and the first one that you'll notice, is there's no base plate on the bottom of the camera. There's a switch release on the battery, which then also covers up the SD card slot. And that card slot is now UHS 2 as well. And you've got a USB-C connection, which you can use to charge the camera. And if you've got an iPhone, even better news, you can connect directly to it and use the app on your phone to access the photos, which is all very, very seamless and easy. Now that battery life seems to be improved as well, with it lasting quite a lot longer. And we hadn't even taken it down to 50% through a whole day of shooting in London. Now the camera comes in chrome and in black. And it's not just a visual difference. The chrome version is a solid brass body, which feels very, very premium, but it does make it a little bit heavier, while the black version is a new aluminium body, making it about 20% lighter. We also got to check out the new VisioFlex EVF, which you can get for this camera. Now, of course, you've got the rangefinder on the camera, which is actually really nice to shoot with, but that EVF is lovely. It's 3.68 million dots, it's tiltable, and it's a great way to shoot. Using the focus peaking with the EVF was a great way to compose and focus your shots, and just all round it's a lovely thing to have available to the camera. You've also got that back LCD screen, which is improved as well. It's a 2.3 million dot touchscreen, which you can use to pinch and zoom, as well as select from quick options in the menu. While that's super useful, it would be great to have full menu touch integration, but the quick options work fine. There are also 3 custom function buttons on the camera, which you can set to do a huge number of different functions. And it makes adjusting things like ISO much easier than just using the wheel on the top of the camera, just as an example. Ultimately, this is definitely a worthy upgrade from the M10. It's the most powerful rangefinder from Leica, and it has a whole host of quality of life improvements. And that makes it just really a joy to use. That image quality is just outstanding. If you've been holding out for the M11, you definitely won't be disappointed. Now, if you have any questions about this camera at all, of course, pop them down in the comments. We'll do our best to get back to you ASAP. There's a link down in the description so you can go and check out the camera for yourself. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well, because there's new content all the time. I'll see you in the next video, but until then, as always, thanks for watching.